We're live. All right. I want to welcome everybody to the general committee meeting tonight. It's October 8th, 6 p.m. And I want to thank everybody for attending and for everyone watching at home. First of all, I would like to call this meeting to order. And I would also like to introduce myself. I'm Lee Peterson, chairman of the committee. I'm also alderman from Ward 2, and our committee is with us tonight.
Jim Waters, Alderman 6, and VP.
There you go. Bob Garst, Ward 3 Alderman.
What else?
That's it for me.
And Jason Gallows, if you would kick off the introductions, please.
You bet. Jason Gallo, Administrative Services Director.
Oh, Karen Dixon, Alderman, Ward 4.
Mayor Jamie Cleary. Keith Free, Planning Director.
Jesse Eckneroth, Chief of Operations.
Lance Ray, City Attorney.
All right. And
Big guy, the big guy.
And also,
Thank you.
JP, thank you for putting us on the World Wide Web tonight. Okay, well, let's go on the agenda. And do we have any questions about the agenda tonight? Can I get an acceptance of the
Make a
agenda?
motion we accept it, please.
I have a proper motion from Mr. Waters
Second.
and a second from Mr. Garza. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, and were you able to review minutes from last month, September the 10th?
Make a motion we accept them.
I have a motion to accept minutes from last month from
Second.
Mr. Waters and a second from Mr. Garza. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes. And are we approving the minutes twice?
And you approve the agenda and then the minutes.
Okay. And all right, we are going to move on to citizen comments. And did anybody sign up tonight to speak?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, we will go right into ordinances and resolutions. And our first item on the agenda is reading of Resolution 2024-34, a resolution amending the Football 15 Comprehensive Development Plan located at 240 Innovation Way, east of New Shackle Island Road and south of Volunteer Drive. And our sponsor on that resolution is Alderman Martin, and he is not with us tonight.
I can add something to that, though.
Okay.
So I went to the planning commission meeting, and originally football 5, and based on what the city requires, was over 200 parking places. They came back and wanted to do like 135 parking places, which wasn't acceptable to the planning commission, but found a way to get 174, 176 full-size parking places in this establishment, which planning commission voted unanimously to approve. And that's what we're here for.
Okay. So I believe they are required to have 220 spaces, and I think they're asking for 174. Is that correct, Keith?
That's correct.
Okay. And I have a question. Who came up with 220 parking spaces? Is that based on square footage, or how do we determine that?
That's just based on the square footage of the field itself. And so on all our different parking ratios, it's dependent on building or use or that type of thing. And this is just something that it's just our standard, what our standard is. And what our standard, especially for something like that, 220 is a good spot. But like on any of our parking requirements, if the use can justify that it doesn't need as much parking, especially in a planned development such as this is, then they can request relief from that. And that's what they've done on this. And so, and they're very comfortable that the 175 spaces will take care of their needs. And they did remove pickleball courts. They had outdoor pickleball courts and they did remove those so that it would increase the amount of area they had for parking. And so basically this is one large regulation soccer field. And then it's a building that's going to have a lot of different recreational training things in it. And so that's kind of what the development is.
And I think that soccer field has lights, so they might be able to kind of not everybody be in the facility at one time.
And they
So
did
maybe parking wouldn't be an issue that we thought it would be.
And the owner's representative did go out and do a study of, I think it was something out at Liberty High School, where they had one of the local soccer clubs had a tournament, and so they documented all of the people that were coming and going, and then that showed that actually the 174 spaces, even on a tournament, would should be sufficient. Also, additionally, although it's not counted in the 174, they have an agreement with a neighboring business. What's the name of that business?
ServPro.
To use their parking lot when they need to for overflow.
And they're
For
not open on the
tournaments.
weekends.
This is next door to Grace Place, right?
Yeah, it's behind Grace Place.
Yeah.
And so-
But
so
they
then
won't-
The planning commission did, it was actually 6-1
Okay,
was the recommendation to approve it. But they had, as Alderman said in the previous meeting, they had real serious concerns about how, doing it like 125 spaces. And so basically, they asked the applicant to come back and increase that and, by at least, 50 or so. And the applicant was able to do it. One thing I might note is when they had those 125 spaces, we also have the ability to use motorcycle spaces and compact spaces. And you can squeeze more parking and you can get the numbers. But what they did is when they resubmitted, because the planning commission just didn't want to mess with that on this, all these are full parking spaces. So none of them are compact or motorcycle spaces. They could have gotten more numbers if they could have done some of that. And the concern was, especially with the soccer field itself, not having motorcycle and compact spaces, assuming a lot of people might have large vehicles.
Right.
we are in the world of pickup trucks.
Yes.
And SUVs, so.
This is a mixed athletic facility, or are there any others like it where they could determine what number of parking spaces are required?
They had done some studies when they submitted the 125. They did some studies of other places, like in Davidson County, and very somewhat similar things.
Okay,
But the planning commission wanted something that was more local, a more local
I
example.
understand
And
that.
that's why they did looking at it with that. But these parking, the parking can be difficult in the sense of, having the right calculation. It's just a one size fits all. It can be difficult to use that. But that's why if you're doing plan development, then you could get some relief if you can justify that relief. And that's the path they're taking.
Okay, so I think, what is this, 44 less spaces? Is that the correct number? Is there 44 spaces available at ServPro?
I think it was just another 25 at ServPro. So it wasn't all the spaces. I think it was just 25 in their front area. I think that
Okay.
was the right number.
But
But we're
there's,
not using that to count. We're not counting that.
oh,
That was just-
okay,
That's just an agreement they have, but it's not a condition of the approval.
I see. And there is no street parking, correct, on Volunteer?
Yeah, I mean, you could, but there's not on-street parking.
And there won't be any parking at Grace Place, and I
No.
believe there's also an adjacent church.
Yeah, no parking at either one of those.
Okay. Well,
Excuse me.
yes, sir, please.
I'm sorry I wasn't at the meeting, but since it's in Ward 6, did we have any residents at all come and discuss this?
No, nobody came on No, I don't believe there was, no.
No, as a matter of fact, the other businesses came in previous to this meeting and
Yeah.
gave them a good neighbor.
Yeah.
Gave them a good neighbor. Serpro did, and Grace Place did too.
So I think, yeah, there wasn't any, there were issues when it originally got approved. I think the church next door had some concerns, but some things were adjusted on the time on Sundays.
Right.
That they could do, and that's not a part of this, that's already approved. But that was one of their main concerns. And I think maybe originally, I can't remember if the church came to that first meeting, but they didn't come to the second.
No.
The second meeting.
I will say this. I mean, I listen to a lot of things in planning with the developers and stuff like that. This group of developers has really gone out of their way to do whatever they possibly can to be a good neighbor. And I respect that. We haven't heard that always from some of the developers. They don't really care, but these guys have been good.
And this use, we didn't really get into this part of it at the meeting, but this use is a use with this soccer field and the potential to kind of free up a little bit from our existing parks and take a little bit of that traffic and disperse it in another part of the community where it's not there and it's not up on Arrowhead on Drake's Creek. This just gives another place where you could have a lot of soccer activity, and then that traffic is over in there instead of all just coming in and out the limited spaces we have or limited entries and exits that we have in our parks.
I don't guess it's necessary to have a traffic study, or did it have one?
It may have had a real cursory one, but not a full-blown detail.
Well, based on New Shackle Island, which is what I live off of, and I know it's, your ward, my ward meet, there is a turn lane there that should not back up any traffic on New Shackle Island. And that was the big concern, because New Shackle Island's only 2 lanes until you get to where this is. Then there's a turn lane. So if someone's going in there, they would not be in the way to back up traffic. That was my biggest concern when I first heard this thing.
Is that where the restaurant used to be?
Yes.
I miss that place. Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2024.
I second that motion.
Okay.
And is there any other changes to this amendment other than just parking?
No, that's it.
Okay.
This is
And-
all the amendment was.
And the soccer field, is that still going to be lit up?
I can't remember. I think maybe that was a possibility, but I don't know that they had intentions of lighting it up initially. So I think that could be a possibility.
All right. Well, I don't have any more questions, but thank you for bringing up any citizen comments or anything, because this is Ward 6. So I appreciate that. We do have a proper motion to accept resolution 2024-34, a resolution amending the Football 15 Comprehensive Development Plan located at 240 Innovation Way east of New Shackle Island Road and south of Volunteer Drive.
It is. It's football 5.
Is it football 5?
That's okay. It's easy to look at that way.
It's football 5, not 15.
It's a unique name. I don't know that
Am I supposed to say
anything else is named
football?
that, so.
Okay, we have a proper motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously. That has a positive recommendation to BOMA,
Mhm.
or is that finished here?
To BOMA.
To
for one
BOMA.
reading.
Okay,
That'll be next BOMA, not tonight. But
Right.
perfect. Because we have a 2-week rule. Okay, we will move on to item number 2.
Okay.
And that is reading of resolution 2024-38, a resolution approving the Norman Creek Phase 3 final development plan located at, is that O Anderson Lane or 0?
0.
It's probably 0, yeah.
Okay, 0. I just wanted to check.
I know you do.
Maybe it's on the map.
All right, Mr. Martin, Alderman from Ward 2 is sponsoring this, but he is not here. So Keith, would you like to fill us in on this? And I think there is concerns with phase 3 final development. I think in question, there's 4 significant changes to this final development plan.
Okay. This is the final development plan, and just to kind of explain where this is in the process. Back in 2006, so phase 1, 2, and 3 of Norman Creek, phase 1 and 2 are, phase 1's already built. Phase 2, it's either already built or just has a few more houses on it. And this is the 3rd phase back in the back. But the rezoning and plan development was approved back in 2006. So that's the entitlement that says, yeah, you can do all these different things there. On this phase 3, there were actually the PDP, the preliminary development plan, was approved for 78 lots. And then, but a final development plan was never approved. And then now they're moving forward. The new owners of the property are moving forward with a final development plan for phase 3. And so there had not been a final development plan before. This is the first one. And what a part of that requirement is to look and see, hey, is this in substantial compliance with the preliminary development plan where the rezoning and everything already got determined? And then it goes to the planning commission, comes to this general committee, and then it goes for one reading at Palma in 2 weeks. And so couple of different changes on this. The main one is they're going with larger lots instead of the smaller lots, and they're reducing the lots from 78 that they already have approved by right, and they're reducing that down to 32 lots. Also, the open space is increasing in size. Let me see if I can find where that is.
Page 34, I think.
11. Yeah, they're adding, originally it had 15.6 acres of open space, and now it's gonna have about 26.99. It's about 11 acres more of open space, so that's one thing that is different. There was a connection that was gonna go to the back to any future development, but whenever Forest Park got its approvals in the last several years, that connection was not made, so there's nowhere for that to go. So this is just a cul-de-sac, a loop that comes off of Macy Drive, or the continuation of Macy Drive off of Norman Creek. And so I can answer any questions on it. This was voted unanimously from the planning commission to move forward, and mainly on something like this, on a final development plan. The big question is, hey, is this in substantial compliance to what we approved on that preliminary development plan? And this is, in some ways, I can see, this is a significant improvement as far as reducing density, decreasing the number of lots as a positive thing, as well as increasing the amount of open space, and then hopefully the amount of disturbance that would occur. A lot of that open space would be areas that if you were developing all of it, they might need to excavate or blast or do different things too. And so that's kind of what's going on.
2 things based on what you just said. The first one is when blasting happens, it doesn't happen at the city level, it happens at the state level.
That's correct.
And, this isn't in my ward, but I don't know whose ward this is in actually. But when that happens, 5, so you're going to get beat up by people saying, let me know when they're blasting because, I got to do stuff. But so I don't know how the state informs people in the adjoining neighborhoods, or maybe they don't, but that's a big question always happens when blasting starts.
Yeah, that is covered by the state, and I don't know specifically what those requirements are, but
right.
There are some things where if you're within a certain distance, I think they notify, and then they might even do a pre-assessment of a house that are nearby, to take pictures and everything, just in case there are some
right.
issues. And there might be monitors and things like that. I'm not for sure, but
I'm with you.
There's some of that could occur as well.
So is there anything on our website about blasting Okay, so there's the answer.
Yeah.
Right, just go to the website and take a look, because I blasted, this is not related to that, I have one more question for you, but people are complaining about trash pickup on Facebook. And I just simply respond, go to the city website, it tells you everything you want to know. Oh, maybe they just want to complain. Anyhow, the other question is, during this meeting, there seemed to be some residents in another neighborhood who were complaining about a thoroughfare. I don't know much about where this is located. However, they were pretty adamant that they didn't want a road coming through their property. Is that still on?
I think the residents that spoke, there was a few.
Just a few.
Maybe three, that spoke. I think they lived on Norman Way, which is part of that east-west collector that will connect all the way through to Saundersville in the future with Baird Farm, and then connection all the way through to Forest Park.
Okay,
This particular thing is, where Norman Way is.
right.
This, I believe, is on Macy, that just kind of spurs off, and then there's a loop up there, what they're looking to do. I think from what I understood, you were there as well, but from what I understood, it seemed like they were concerned about construction traffic.
Which is a short-lived issue, not
Yeah.
short, but
And then, I guess possibly concerned about additional houses, and then there was something initially, when the developers were initially looking at this, they were looking at connecting it over to the subdivision in the county with a little connection road. But they had a meeting with the residents over there, and they didn't want that connected. So
you're comfortable then?
Yeah.
Okay.
so this is in substantial compliance, and it is less lots.
Well, I mean, they could build a lot more houses,
Yeah.
but they're not going to, so that's a positive.
And it is. It's a challenging thing. I mean, if you've ever lived in a neighborhood near or that's under construction, I mean, it's that's something that goes on for quite a while, depending on what phase you're at.
Manskers and Stones Creek, both of them.
What phase you're at in the construction. So definitely that's challenges, and I think we can all empathize with folks that are in neighborhoods that are still under construction.
Well, and my daughter she lived in Stonecrest, and when she bought in, they sold her, they weren't going to develop behind her.
Mhm.
2 years later, there it goes.
Yeah.
So, so developers aren't necessarily telling the truth because they don't have to, because when they're caught lying, what are you going to do? Sue them?
Yeah.
They got a few lawyers in their back pocket. So, are we okay with this developer? She's done a good job?
This one, I think this was Jones. I think it's the developer that's doing the one in the county right next door.
Okay.
So these homes, the quality of these, well, not the appearance of these homes will be probably substantially above that neighborhood that they're in. Actually, should be equal to, or the way it's looking on the
I thought they
layout
looked good.
could be, will definitely complement real well the Norman Creek neighborhood.
Okay. Anything else?
Because that was the last one, that the approved elevations were brick and stone, and I think they want to include hardy siding and other exterior materials.
They agreed with everything we had.
Okay,
So they agreed with, when we did that staff comments, the amount of brick and stone that they were doing didn't meet what the staff was saying they needed to do. So they agreed
okay.
they agreed to all staff comments. What happens a lot of times as you're looking at some of these things, so there might be a long list of staff comments, and some of those are planned, and some of them are fire, and some of them are public works with roads and improvements and drainage and things like that. So a lot of times when something gets approved at the planning commission, most every time, there's going to be 12, 15, 18 staff comments. And so it gets approved with staff comments. And so any of those different things that we have on staff comments, it could go through this whole process and get approved. Then when they're making all the corrections, then we're making sure we're checking off that they met all those staff comments as well. So nothing slips past us on that. So I just wanted to share that.
Good.
Well, only concern I have out of the 4 would be the road connection. So hopefully we can invite the developer to the BOMA meeting in 2 weeks in case we have any other questions. I know that was a concern for residents, was the roads connecting one development to another. So maybe we might even have citizen comments.
And I will say that was something that several of our planning commissioners, brought up, was just about the road connectivity, but they were okay with this. But just overall that, one of the things that, we'll be looking at, next year, we're currently working on the transportation plan. It's more of a capital improvement plan on prioritizing major projects. But once hopefully that gets approved after maybe the first of the year, then I'll be working with the planning commission to actually update our long-term transportation plan, for our planning documents. And in that, our planning commissioners expressed at the meeting, and they feel very strongly that we also need to look at connectivity in areas where we have neighborhoods that are stubbing out. I think we all understand, even if I'm an engineer, I think we all understand where there's more back ways and ways to wiggle around and not have to drive everything to an intersection. It's gonna decrease congestion. So we'll be looking at those things. But the planning commission, that's something I think the connectivity issue is very important to them. I just want to share that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions?
Nope.
Comments? All right.
No.
Do we have a motion to accept resolution 2024-38?
So moved.
Second.
I have a proper motion from Mr. Garza and a second from Mr. Waters. All those in favor of reading of resolution 2024-38, a resolution approving the Norman Creek Phase 3 Final Development Plan located at 0 Anderson Lane, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously with a positive recommendation to FOMA. Okay. And Norman Farms used to have the best pumpkin patch.
They did.
I miss that so much. But I digress. Okay, let's move on to other agenda items. And do we have any other agenda items?
I would like to bring two things up.
Okay, is that other business or agenda items?
Yes.
Okay.
This phase 3 or final development for phase 3, and this isn't about phase 3. I brought it up. Are they paying impact fees?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, they're not paying impact fees. They're paying a volunteer development per lot fee that was established back in 2006. So that was.
So they're paying the same fee today that they would have paid in 2006.
Yes.
So we're going to be a little bit behind on that one.
$900.
I think it was, whatever that was, I think
I think it's $900 for a lot. The most
Okay.
recent subdivision we had come in, 37,
yeah,
35,
30.
Per lot.
35. I
35
think it's 35.
Right. Okay.
voluntarily.
And then the second item, which is going to be related to Lance. Apparently some people in my ward were playing pickleball when the BB guys came out. And their question, which is I guess not that odd, is they ask, what are the young men being charged with?
That's up to the police department and the detectives handling that case.
Okay.
They determined the probable cause necessary to charge them on any number of crimes. I would just be speculating. I don't know. I just heard the general circumstances about people shooting BB guns, but the detectives are the ones that interview the witnesses and the alleged suspects. So that's up to them what they would charge them with.
Okay. Because I'm getting the typical Rambo attitude of, well, I'm carrying, so I was just going to shoot into the woods. I'm thinking that's not a very good idea.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different.
What would you live in?
It was in Veterans Park. I live.
Hey, Bob. So different cities do it different ways, but typically our police officers handle the prosecution of police matters, and our city attorney handles every other department.
Okay.
Right,
So I'll just reach out to Jim Jones and get that information.
right. And they consult with the district attorney's office who prosecutes criminal prosecutes crimes in the city and in the county. I just represent the city in civil matters.
Okay,
Sorry I couldn't answer.
that's okay. I asked the question on
Yeah,
on
good
that TV up there.
Good question.
And then lastly, not to bore anybody, but because Ward 3 sits on West Main Street and I ran on improving Ward 3, this new sign thing is really cool. Could I get a list of the businesses? I know I got an email on it, but I couldn't print it for some reason.
We'll get it for you.
You know, who's getting the new signs? I appreciate that because I'm going to do a Facebook post on that.
So that spreadsheet is massive.
What's that?
That
Yeah.
spreadsheet is massive.
Yeah, I tried. I couldn't.
Yeah, we can come up with something. Maybe we probably need to delete some rows. some
Yeah.
columns.
We'll come up with something. I think Casey was going to do a rollout of it. I think we were, what was going on is we have several that were right on the edge and now they're committing.
Oh, beautiful.
So there's
Which one's that?
better information coming out in the next week or two.
Right. Okay.
On how many we're actually.
It's the new
assisting.
monument signs. We're
It's-
taking down the old sign that's been there for 25 years and
Yeah.
the city's helping
25?
We have,
more. And they're putting a monument. They look great.
it's a grant program. You can apply for a grant to replace your sign. I think the maximum grant is
10,000.
$10,000. So, and a lot of people have taken advantage of it,
Yes.
and I think we're running out of money pretty quickly, which is good and bad. But it's all that emphasis to, really help enhance West Main.
Yeah, looks fantastic.
It does. It's really looking good, and I appreciate, Mayor, that we had that grant and that we made that available to the business owners, so we can work together on really putting an emphasis on West Main.
Jay and Tim Nicholson and Keith and Grant and whole staff have handled that well.
It's fantastic.
Very good.
Question, is that new development there by,
Near water?
Yeah.
Waffle House?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
has it, is it,
Yeah, I saw it in there.
huh? You did? I was fixing to ask about the development. I see they're still going with it.
Yes.
What's the latest on TDOT on the entrance?
That would have to be something maybe Public Works would need to address on that. I think everything is okay. Everything is
It is
okay.
okay?
Yeah, everything's okay with it. But any specifics, that would probably be something maybe.
Do you know where the entrance is gonna be?
At Waffle House.
Yes, the existing driveway at Waffle House.
TDOT approved that?
Mhm.
Okay,
I'm with you.
that's Ward 3, isn't
You bet it is.
it? Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have any other agenda items?
No, I just want a cup of coffee.
How about other business?
Good.
How about an adjournment? See, I cannot speak.
Motion to
tonight.
adjourn.
Okay,
I second that motion.
we have a motion and a second to adjourn.
Are you having trouble
I
speaking
guess
tonight?
so. My
Ever since-
dentures are slipping.
Ever since Alabama lost, he's had a trouble.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.